Hey there, I'm Olivia Thompson. I'm 38, thriving in the real estate business and married to James, the love of my life. He's a widower with two incredible kids, Emma and Ethan, who are 14 and 12. Let me tell you, being a stepmom is no easy feat, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. We've built a cozy life in suburban Chicago. James is a top surgeon at the local hospital, and I'm closing deals left and right. Life is good, but then there's Mark, James's brother. Mark, oh boy, where do I begin? He's married to Sarah, and they have two kids, Tyler and Mia. Mark is always cooking up some new business idea, but none of them ever seem to work out. I can sense the jealousy in his eyes whenever he's around James. Last Thanksgiving, we had the whole family over at our place. I was in the kitchen, busy making my famous apple pie, when I overheard Mark talking to James. So how's playing house with the real estate agent? He sneered. I froze my hand halfway to the cinnamon. James laughed it off. Come on, Mark. Olivia's amazing with the kids. We're happy. Sure, but she's not their real mom, is she? How could she be? It felt like a punch to the gut, but I took a deep breath, pasted on a smile, and brought the pie out as if nothing had happened. Later, while I was helping Emma with her math homework, Mark swaggered over. Hey, step on Olivia, trying to win them over with homework help. I stared him down. Family isn't about blood, Mark. It's about love. Emma squeezed my hand under the table, and I knew I had her support. But it's not all drama. James and I share quiet moments too. One night, after the kids were in bed, he sat me down. Liv, I need to tell you something, he said. The doctor found a little issue with my heart. My own heart nearly stopped. Is it serious? It's manageable with meds, but it made me think. I should update my will, just to make sure you and the kids are taken care of. I wanted to argue, to say he'd be fine, but I knew he was right, so I nodded, holding back tears. We'll face whatever comes together, I told him. That night, as I lay in bed, I worried about James, the kids, and even Mark's attitude. But then I heard Ethan laughing down the hall as James told him a bedtime story and Emma's music softly playing from her room. I realized no matter what life threw at us, we were a family, and that's all that mattered. Then came the day that turned everything upside down. It was just another Tuesday morning. I was pouring my second cup of coffee when the phone rang. My world shifted as I heard the news. James had collapsed at work. By the time I reached the hospital, he was gone. Just like that, my rock, my partner, the love of my life, gone. The weeks that followed blurred together in a haze of tears and casseroles. Emma and Ethan clung to me, and I to them, all of us lost in our grief, trying to figure out how to move forward. Then came the reading of the will. I sat there, numb, barely processing the lawyer's words until Mark's voice cut through the fog. What do you mean she gets an equal share? She's not even family. I blinked, focusing on his angry, red face. James wanted to take care of all three of us, I said quietly. This is ridiculous. You manipulated him. Those aren't even your real kids. The lawyer tried to step in, but Mark wasn't done. You're nothing but a gold digger. You didn't love James. You just wanted his money. I felt Emma trembling beside me, and I finally found my voice. That's enough, Mark. This is what James wanted. End of discussion. But it wasn't the end. Over the following weeks, I started getting cold looks from family members, and the whispers stopped when I entered a room. Finally, at a family dinner, James's cousin Linda pulled me aside. Olivia, I think you should know, Mark's been saying some things. My stomach dropped as Linda explained. According to Mark, I had seduced James for his money, never cared about the kids, and was probably cheating on him before he died. The words made me feel physically sick. The worst was yet to come. Emma had a big choir performance at school, and I was helping her with her hair when my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Uncle Mark is here. He looks mad. Alarmed, I rushed downstairs to find Mark standing in the living room, reeking of alcohol. There she is, the little homewrecker, he slurred. Mark, you're drunk. Go home, I said, trying to stay calm. Not until you admit what you did. You stole my brother's money, he shouted. Emma appeared at the top of the stairs, wide-eyed. Mom, what's going on? Mark turned on her, his voice harsh. She's not your mom. Your real mom is dead, and this woman is trying to steal your inheritance. Emma burst into tears and ran back to her room. I saw red. Get out of my house now, I demanded. Or what? You'll call the cops? Go ahead. I'll tell them how you manipulated my brother, he taunted. Just then, Ethan emerged from the kitchen, holding the phone. I already called them, Uncle Mark. They're on their way. Mark's face paled. He stumbled toward the door, throwing one last insult over his shoulder. This isn't over, Olivia. As the door slammed, I sank onto the stairs, my head in my hands. Ethan sat beside me, worry etched across his young face. Mom, are you okay? I looked at him and then at Emma, her tear-streaked face peeking down from the stairs. In that moment, I knew these were my kids, and I would move heaven and earth to protect them. I'm okay, sweetie, and we're going to be okay. I promise. As I held my children that night, I realized Mark was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It was time to fight back. A few days later, I sat across from Mike, the private investigator. My stomach churned as he slid a folder across the table. You were right to be suspicious, Mrs. Thompson. Your brother-in-law's been busy, he said. I opened the folder, my eyes widening as I skimmed the contents. Embezzlement, gambling debts, loans in James's name. Mike nodded grimly. Mark's in deep. He's desperate for that inheritance to cover his tracks. I felt sick. Thank you, Mike. This changes everything. Later that day, I met with my lawyer, Sandra. Can Mark contest the will? I asked. Sandra shook her head. Not successfully. James was of sound mind, and his wishes are clear. But be prepared, Mark will probably try anyway. As I drove home, my thoughts raced. I had the upper hand now, but at what cost to my family? When I walked into the house, I found Emma and Ethan sitting on the couch, looking anxious. Hey kids, everything okay? I asked. Emma bit her lip. Mom, Uncle Mark called us. My heart sank. What did he say? Ethan spoke up. He said you were lying about Dad's will, that you're trying to steal our inheritance. I sat down heavily, overwhelmed. Oh, kids. Emma reached for my hand. We didn't believe him, Mom. We know you'd never do that. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you for telling me, and thank you for trusting me. We hugged, and in that moment, I realized how far we had come. These kids, who I had feared might never accept me, now trusted me completely. The next day, I took them to their first therapy session with Dr. Rodriguez. How are you feeling about everything? She asked gently. Emma shrugged. Sad. Angry. I miss Dad, but I'm glad we have Mom. Ethan nodded. Yeah, Uncle Mark's being a jerk, but Mom's always there for us. I squeezed their hands, my heart full. Over the next few weeks, we focused on healing. Game nights, movie marathons, and long talks over hot chocolate slowly brought laughter back into our home. Then one evening, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mark standing there, looking haggard. We need to talk, Olivia, he muttered. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. I know everything, Mark. The embezzlement, the loans in James's name. It's over. His face drained of color. How? You can't prove anything. I have enough proof to send you to prison, I said firmly. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You'll ruin everything. Suddenly, the door flew open. Emma and Ethan stood there, phones in hand. Let go of our Mom, Ethan said, his voice trembling but determined. Emma held up her phone. We recorded everything. Touch her again, and we'll call the cops. Mark released me, stumbling backward. You're choosing her over family? She is our family, Emma said, her voice steady. As Mark slunk away, I turned to my children, overwhelmed with pride and love. You didn't have to do that, I said softly. Ethan shrugged. Yeah, we did. You're our Mom. We protect each other. Emma nodded. That's what family does. I pulled them into a hug, marveling at how, in the midst of pain and betrayal, we had forged something unbreakable. That night, as I lay in bed, I knew the battle wasn't over. Mark wouldn't give up easily. For the first time since James died, I felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever came next, we'd face it together as a family. The annual Thompson family barbecue, once a joyous occasion, was now a minefield of tension. Standing in Aunt Martha's backyard, I clutched a folder, feeling its weight like a shield. It was time to end this. I approached Mark, my heart racing. We need to talk. Privately, I said, nodding toward the garage. Inside, I laid out the evidence, watching Mark's face cycle from red to white to green. You have two choices. Back off and get help, or I go public. His eyes darted around like a cornered animal. You wouldn't dare, he growled. Try me. Mark snapped. He lunged, his fist connecting with my jaw. Pain shot through me as I stumbled, tasting blood. Dad, Tyler's voice rang out. His son stood in the doorway, horror on his face. Within seconds, the garage was full. Sarah, Emma, Ethan, Aunt Martha, all witnessing Mark's true nature unravel. Sarah's voice cut through the chaos. That's it, Mark. We're done. The police arrived soon after, leading Mark away in handcuffs. The shock on everyone's faces told me the truth was finally out, and there was no going back. Months passed, and Mark's trial became a media circus. Embezzlement, fraud, assault. In the end, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Through it all, Emma, Ethan, and I clung to one another. We cried, we laughed, we healed. One evening over dinner, Emma cleared her throat, her voice tentative. Mom, we've been thinking. Ethan jumped in. We want you to adopt us. Legally. I nearly choked on my pasta. Are you sure? They both nodded, eyes shining. Dad would want this, Emma said softly. I pulled them into a tearful embrace, laughing and crying at the same time. In that moment, I felt James's presence, loving, approving. In honor of James, we used part of the inheritance to start the James Thompson Foundation for Blended Families, a way to help others navigate the same choppy waters we had survived. Tyler and Mia were frequent visitors too. They had lost their father to his own demons, but they gained a support system in us. Today, we stood at James's grave. The air was crisp, leaves crunching under our feet. Emma laid flowers on the headstone. Hey, Dad, we miss you, she whispered. Ethan grinned. Remember when he tried to teach us to fish and fell into the lake? We laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet cemetery. As we walked back to the car, I marveled at my children, strong, compassionate, and resilient. They had faced loss and betrayal, but had come out shining. Ice cream, I suggested. Race you to the car. Ethan bolted, Emma close behind. As I slid into the driver's seat, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. The woman looking back was stronger, wiser, and more complete than she had ever been. Thanks, James, I whispered. I'll take good care of our family. As we drove away, the car filled with laughter, I knew that whatever life threw at us, we'd face it together, bound not by blood, but by love. Stronger than any legal document or DNA test could ever prove. The road ahead was open, full of possibility, and for the first time in a long while, I couldn't wait to see where it would lead us. As for your question, if I were in Olivia's shoes, I'd have given Mark a chance, but with firm boundaries. Everyone deserves the opportunity to change, but some actions, like betrayal and violence, are hard to forgive. Sometimes protecting your family means cutting toxic ties. What about you? Would you have given him a chance?